Sure, I'm gotta write. I wrote all of this down for him because just like how Christina was sharing about myself, this guy I've known for over, geez, I've known him since we were 14 years old, which is over and that's our classmate laughing. I don't even have to see her to know who that is. That's the one who's one of our classmates, and she herself I've known for over 40 years. We're all 1970 born, so those of you that are younger than us, we don't want to hear any of it. But Chad isn't just a cherished friend. He's actually an exceptional therapist whose compassion and expertise has touched countless lives. And I know there's some of you on here that he has worked with both personally and professionally. His academic journey started in Spokane, Washington, where he earned both his Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology and his Master's in Education and Clinical Mental Health Counseling from Whitworth University, where he currently is working. His professional experience is extensive, having been a counselor at the Taramac Center, as well as a crisis intervention specialist at Frontier Behavioral Health in Spokane. And currently, like I said, he's with the mental health counselor at Whitworth University, where he provides invaluable supports to students navigating the complexity of college life. And those of you that have been in college, we know what the pressures that they face. Now, throughout his 27 years in the mental health field, Chad has maintained a steadfast belief that everyone needs help at some point in their life. He approaches therapy with person-centered and cognitive behavioral techniques aiming to empower individuals to process, to heal, and grow. His unique perspective as a former collegiate athlete allows him to understand the demands of balancing athletics, academics, and personal expectations. But as a native Hawaiian, Chad appreciates the diverse cultural backgrounds of his clients and feels blessed to serve the Whitworth community, who he fondly calls the Ohana. His ability, what I really appreciate why he's here tonight, and I'm so excited for you guys, is that he has an ability to break down complex concepts into understandable bite-sized pieces, and it makes him an exceptional therapist. His huge heart and genuine desire to help others shine through in all that they do, and it's an honor to know him and to witness the profound impact that he has those fortunate enough to work with him. Other than that, can we give a big, nice round of applause to Chad Hamasaki? How's it going, brother?
Going good. And let's
So
be honest, the reason you asked me on is because you can have a mental health professional for very cheap.
I thought it was for free.
Okay, yeah, very free.
Okay, okay. But now for him, we got to give him grace because for us it's 8:15, but for him and Kawila and a couple other people, it's 10:15.
Yes.
So it's way past both of our bedtimes. Because if you know me, you know I'm in bed at 8 o'clock, and you know him, he's in bed. 10 o'clock is past his bedtime. But I really appreciate you being like Chad for real. Like you know that you and I we have a good time. We rub each other, tease each other, and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, your family, and so I'm honored and grateful that you're here for real to be the first guy to have for Real Talk Thursdays, bro. It's like a dream come true having all this and all these people online to hear what you have to say and your stories and stuff is pretty cool. So if I'm gonna start with the first question, and it's self-care right now is such a buzzword, taking care of yourself and stuff like that. But to you, both as a professional, as a therapist, and personally, what does that mean for you, self-care?
I mean, it's funny that it's a buzzword because honestly, we should all be taking aware of it at all times. I mean, right now in life, and interestingly enough, working with college students, you see it kind of tenfold. Life is so busy right now. You get social media putting pressure on you, your job, you got to be successful, you got to make so much money, the economy's bad. Oh, I got to make even more money. There's a lot going on. We have run out of time for ourselves. The concept of self-care is pretty simple. Hey, you matter in the whole equation. Yes, you got to take care of kids. You got to take care of kupuna. You got to take care of family. You also have to take care of you. Uh, uh, Something I tell people that I've worked with for such a long time is you can't pour out of an empty pitcher.
Uh,
You have to have something, and self-care is how you make sure you have it. And I get it. There are actually times in life, how do I do that? I don't have time. I can't. More often than not, it's because you're doing so much for everybody. Can you take 5 minutes? Can you take 5 minutes and just be silent? Can you just take 5 minutes and just be present and think about, okay, I'm doing the best I can and I'm going to make it to tomorrow. And right now, I'm giving myself a minute to recharge so I make it through tomorrow. I mean, it can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be extravagant. I mean, I look at all the locals in Hawaii. Sometimes self-care is, oh, I go in Vegas. And fine, cool.
yeah, yeah.
Do what it takes. But to be honest, more often than not, we need to do it a little bit more often.
What
You
is
go Vegas once a year.
how do
Go
you,
ahead.
if your life is so busy, if you do have kids, or let's say you do have school, and then you have a job, and then you have responsibilities at home, and then you've got pressures like you said on social media, or you've got pressures that you put upon yourself, starting a business, running a business, coaching other people, being a part of a team where you're the leader. Like there's so many things thrown at us. Is To me, I almost feel like, okay, self-care, that means one more thing I got to take care of. Is it necessarily adding things? I mean, what does self-care look like for somebody who's super busy?
Self-care can be, you know what? It's a hot day. I'm gonna get a Slurpee at 7-Eleven. I mean, it doesn't have to be extravagant. It, like I said, 5 minutes, it can be some small token. Self-care can honestly be, you know what? I'm stuck in traffic going westbound on H1 at 5 anyway. You know what? I'm gonna call somebody that I haven't had contact with for a long time, who I know when I talk to them, they just recharge my battery. Yes, you have a busy schedule. And think about that. I've made a schedule. I got to fit everything into my schedule. You're not asking for a ton. You're not asking for, I got to go get massage. You're asking for 5 minutes where you pay attention to what your need is. You're already making a schedule. You kind of fit 5 more minutes in. If your kid asked, you would put 5 more minutes in. If your grandma asked, you would put 5 more minutes in. If your wife asked, you would put 5 more minutes in. If your boss asked, you put 5 more minutes in. You need to pay attention to you at the same time.
But what if you feel guilt? Like some of us, like that 5 minutes, just because you got the kids screaming, you got, whatever is that's on your mind, or somebody like me, ADHD, things are just flying in my head constantly, moving, and to pause that almost feels guilty. Like how do I not feel guilty that I'm taking time for myself when I know, quote, well, not that I know, but maybe I should be doing something else, or I could be doing something else. Like when I feel like for me to just be a little bit, it almost feels selfish and like that. Yeah, I mean that's how do you deal with that? How do
Right.
you change your
Self-care.
mindset?
So often people kind of frame it as, oh, I'm being selfish. But again, if you not taking care of you, how are you taking care of everybody else? You burnt out in a marriage is I'm not giving my partner all that they need. I'm grouchy for your kids. It's let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. No, I can't listen to you. We got to go do stuff. And also within the context of Hawaii, and particularly Hawaii, living mainland, I see the difference. In Hawaii, we do have more demands on us. Oh, my mom, who's old, I'm gonna go visit her. I haven't seen her for 3 days. I gotta go see her. I gotta call uncle. Uncle's been calling me. He needs me to come, dig emu with him. There's a lot of demands, but, and this is the hard part. This is the where I'm gonna challenge people. If you are not taking care of yourself, how do you meet everybody's demands? And it has to be practice. People are like, okay, I'm gonna implement self-care in my schedule. I'm gonna do this. That first week, you're gonna do it maybe twice because you're so used to going at a certain speed. You're gonna have to train yourself to do it. How do you not feel guilty? What do you want? And not from a guilty perspective, but what do you want? Do you want to be able to hear my loved ones talking to me and understand where they're coming from? Do you want to be able to give your best to your parents if they need you and need you to do something for them? Do you want to be successful at what you're doing? How are you going to be successful if you have just zero in the tank?
What if you are at zero? Like where you're just where you mentioned burnout, you mentioned not being able to show up or to listen to your partners or your family, you mentioned being grouchy, you mentioned, like, I mean, I can speak from personal experience. Like you get home, you close the door, and you almost want to scream. Like you just like you're running on empty. Yeah, you're on empty. How do you begin to start? You say start small, but what does that look like to build? I'm thinking for me, that if I got to build my cup half full, oh, that's I got to keep adding more, and that's where the guilt kind of comes in. Is that what you're talking about?
So think about what you just said.
Okay.
Your first statement is, I got to make my cup half full. No, first you just got to pour something in a cup. Doesn't have to be half full. So
Mm.
we got to stop with our mentality of we got to get to here. You ask how do we start? Well, first you got to recognize. And honestly, today's society is push, right? Everything is
Yeah.
push. From the counseling standpoint, one of the things I ask people that come through my door is what got you here? Let's be honest, counseling is still like, maybe I want to try, maybe I don't. But I'll ask them, what got you here? And it's never one thing. One thing was the final push. But there's 5 or 6 other pushes that already happened in life. But one thing got their attention and said, you know what? I don't want to do it like this anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I have nothing to give anymore. And to be honest, the person that has come through my door has finally started paying attention.
When you say pay attention, what be a little bit more specific for me? But pay attention
Paying,
to.
paying attention to what they're going through, what they're experiencing, what they're feeling.
Mhm.
Because again, if you're not paying attention, you're going to keep going. You're going to try and keep going. But then one thing will catch your attention. One thing will be like, hey, this is enough. I cannot go further. Or this is completely not working for me. I don't want to do this anymore.
Is that like a
You
rock
got
bottom? Like, are you talking like rock bottom
no, no, no. It's not even.
emotionally?
It's not
Or
rock bottom. It's not rock bottom. It doesn't have to be. It can be. It doesn't have to be.
okay,
It can be. We'll use relationships because pretty easy to kind of relate to for most people. The way this is going, I can't do it anymore. Whether it's, I mean, it can be something as simple as, oh, I had a monopool that I was couldn't wait to get back home to, and I knew it was there. Oh, she ate it. Oh my God, I can't believe she ate it. It's a very little thing, but that was the last thing. That was a thing that made you pay attention. Like, I can't do this anymore. If you're not paying attention, you'll keep going. So it doesn't have to be rock bottom, but it's when it gets your attention and when you just this isn't working for me. So that's how kind of I would say people start to acknowledge, oh, I'm drained. I this isn't working. I can't do this. And that's where you have to look. So what am I doing to take care of myself? Have you been exercising? Have you been eating? I mean, how many times I hear people, oh, I started eating dinner and I realized, oh, that's the first thing I ate today.
oh
And you're like, what?
yeah,
That's 18 hours. How long you been working? Oh, 10 hours. And you haven't eaten at all? How many hours sleep you had? Oh, I slept last night. How long you slept? I slept 3 hours. Do you really think that's enough? So you gotta start taking inventory like, oh, how am I taking care of myself? And usually at that point, that's when people start saying, okay, I'm gonna come to the counseling center where I'm not sure how this is gonna go. I don't know how to do it. I don't know this person that I'm gonna try and be open to, but life has put them to that point where they're paying attention now. And that's an important thing to be aware of.
as you were talking a second ago, being aware of. It's funny because I mean it's funny, but it's not funny. What I found myself like a temperature gauge for me, if I'm taking care of myself, is if I get pissed off in traffic. I mean, it's like for real. Like if I just am irritated every other driver, and I just, you know, part of my phrase, but dumbass drivers, whatever. I kind of catch myself and go, okay, that's something's up. My cup is half full, half empty. Like
Yeah.
my ex Daisy Freitas. Daisy was the one that taught me. Daisy and Geraldine were the one that taught me making sure I keep my cup half full. So you talking about the pitcher really resonates with me. Like I get
Hmm.
that. I get that process. If you don't mind me
Real
asking
quick,
you,
John.
yeah, go
Well,
for it.
hold on. When that happens, what do you do? When you
I,
become aware, when it's caught your attention,
yeah,
what do you do?
for me,
Yeah,
oh yeah, right away. I know that. Okay, then I got to start taking care of myself. Like it's jumping in the water. Definitely, like
right, right.
when I jump in the water, saltwater heals. Whether I'm jumping in and swimming my laps, surfing, or just getting in the water, exercising. Well, even like last night, I got home after an event. I did everything, and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm gonna eat an ice cream. If you know me, ice cream is that's one of my crutches. Like I love my ice cream, and I hadn't had it in a while. So for me, that treat, not punishing
Right,
myself because of the
exactly.
calories or things like that. Like small
Exactly.
things because I can't go to Vegas right now. You know, like
Right?
yeah.
It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It doesn't have to be, oh, I gotta get away. Because honestly, life doesn't allow it all the time.
What if
But it
what
can
if
be the
you're
small thing.
what if you're and forgive me for saying, and I don't know if this is even off topic, but what if you're in that space where you just are so comfortable at not taking care of yourself that it's almost like a self punishment where you're like, I'm going to stay here because I don't feel the worth to give myself the self care that's needed for me to give to other people. Like, and you know, that punishment. Cause I remember feeling like that. I remember feeling a time in my life where it was like my own self value and self dignity was like pretty much gone, you know, and I wasn't looking at it from anybody. It was almost a point like where I almost gave up, like emotionally, spiritually gave up. Physically, I'm still going, but like you said, running on empty. So, what do you do to somebody like that? Well, what do you say to somebody like that who doesn't see the value and self worth in themselves, and so self care is like the last thing on their fucking list. Part of my French, excuse me. And so it's more like, well, I'm just going to keep going and keep going and keep going. What do you say to somebody like that? What do you do?
Let me ask you this. At some point, something caught your attention though, right?
Yeah.
Right? Something happened. The classic example, person trapped in a abusive relationship, right? They'll take it. They'll let it happen. But something will get their attention. Sometimes it's the kids. Oh my God, my kids are seeing this. Or if they're not seeing this, they're hearing this. To be honest, we are burnt out way earlier than we are aware of it, more
What do you
often than
mean?
not.
What do you mean by that?
We're on empty. We'll keep going. We'll keep going for days. We'll keep going for weeks. In the an analogy of a relationship like that, they'll go for years
Wow.
until something catches their attention. Now, what, shouldn't we take care of ourselves earlier? Right. I'm sure there's a friend that said, hey, get out. I'm sure there's a friend that told you, hey, John, you know what? You're a good guy. You shouldn't be doing this. You should be okay.
Yeah.
We won't hear till we're ready to hear, though. And that's the truth, unfortunately.
So
I
there's
mean,
not.
how many times people tell you, oh, you should do this. You should do this. Nah, nah, nah. I got it. I got it. And
Or that,
that's why I said we have to pay attention
mm.
because it ain't going to change until we're ready to.
How do you begin to? I think kind of what we're alluding to, and I don't know, like boundaries. How do you begin to set those boundaries with other people and with yourself? Like mostly with yourself. Like create, say, this is why I'm important. This saying no. You know, I don't know. A lot of people have problems saying no to people, so they say yes, but then you get resentful, and then it's that whole cycle again of
Right,
punishment
right, right.
and stuff. So when do you begin to do? How do boundaries fit into self care?
Again, I'm going to come from the place of the local family. I mean, I look and there's one person on this, I think in particular, I think of in particular, oh, I got to take care of my family. I got to take care of my mom. I got to make sure that they're okay. As island folks, we tend to have a hard time with that. And it's true. And
There's a lot of pressure.
it's not a bad thing because it's our culture. But there's nowhere in our culture that says, oh, you don't take care of yourself. We have surfing now because the Hawaiians used to go surfing. They used to go fishing. And it's true, it's subsistent living, but they would go do these things that were recreation. Hawaiians have all kind of recreation. They have all kind of games. They go to the forest. They would, even from a cultural standpoint, they would have ways to. They didn't think about it, I'm sure, but that's taking care of themselves.
Even the makahiki season, right, that we're in right
Right,
now,
right.
is time. No war, no fighting, no politics. You know, just a time
hmm
to just be.
Games,
Yeah.
intermingling of communities. The Ahupua'as would compete. Yeah, to say that there's no boundaries, that's not true. I mean, it kind of starts with what do you want? I want to feel better. I don't feel like this. Okay. If you want this, what do you need? I need to sleep more than 3 hours a night. If I sleep 3 hours a night, oh, I'm struggling. I'm not nice to be around. I'm not doing my best. I don't have any energy. Why don't you go to bed? Oh, I got to do the dishes and I got to cook and Okay. Who you live with? I live with 3 other people. Can somebody else cook for that day? Oh, but that's my job. Wait, hold on. What do you need? I need more sleep. Okay. If you keep telling yourself, no, 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 I gotta do things, you're never gonna get what you need. You're gonna have to ask. It's gonna have to come to that.
But if you ask and the answer is still, I still need you. You still got to take care of me. You still have to, like, and they don't want to respect that boundary that you're trying to set. Take care of yourself. What do you do then?
Well, first, you have to ask. Because
Mm.
what you're talking about is the messages I'm already giving myself. Oh, they're gonna tell me this, they're gonna tell me this, they're gonna tell me this.
Mm.
You don't know until you ask. If option one doesn't work, okay, what's option two? If I can't get away from cooking, what can I do? Does it need to be, you know what, on my drive home, I'm going to pull over, I'm going to sleep in my car for half an hour, and then I'm going to go home. I'm still going to get home. I'm still going to have time to do all the things I'm going to do. But I've carved out self-care time. You got to get at least 30 minutes sleep.
That's funny because you say that, and I don't see that as self care. It's almost like survival. If I'm going to pull over on the side of the road, like I'm like, damn, like I need to sleep, and I don't want to kill somebody as I'm driving on the. Which those of you that know I got glasses, that's another story. But for like, if let's say I can still see and driving, like pulling over to me is almost like just to keep me at survival mode. Is that still self care? Is that still is in survival mode? Can I still think self care, or is there like something else going on in my brain? Like what's going on?
Survival mode, you're talking fight or flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In those heightened states, don't you just kind of keep pushing? You don't stop. You just keep pushing.
So the fact that I just stopped and pulled over the side of the road and just said, close my
You
eyes.
acknowledge, right? You acknowledge what you wanted. You acknowledge what you needed, and really, that's where it starts.
Huh. It's that. I mean, that seems. I'll be honest, brother. Like that's like wow, that's self care because I would have never thought of that as self care. Just to take the time, just to sleep, it's being self care.
Nobody's telling you to do it,
Yeah.
right? It's not an instruction. It's not scheduled into your own day.
Mm-hmm.
You evaluated what you needed and you gave it to yourself. I had a bad day. I was upset. I want an ice cream. You gave it to yourself. It's going to make me feel better and I can make it through my day. Sometimes we make things so complicated. It's got to start somewhere. If I'm not sleeping, how do I know what I need? How do I know what I want? Oh, I get kind of fuzzy. I'm old. So it starts with, okay, some basics. I got to sleep a little bit. I need a little bit more rest. I need to be more functional. And then, okay, what's my next step? Again, none of this is like do one thing and that'll get you through. There's no one size fits all ever.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what it is that helps you feel. All right, I did something for myself. All right, I'm taking care of myself. I gave myself what I needed when I needed it.
Does it get easier? Does it get easier for you to put yourself first? Like the more you do it, you're talking small little steps, small incremental changes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. When have we ever made big changes in life and it's easy?
I'm kind of stubborn, so God usually like slaps me upside the head with a 2x4. So those of you that know
Well,
me, that's how it works for me. So
wait a minute, because and this I'm gonna call you out because we had a conversation. I think it was a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, when I was moving Kiala back to the mainland,
uh
and we were talking about doing this kind of thing. Did you do it the next day, or is it 2 years past that where you started?
2 years past that, but I
Okay,
gave
so it
myself
wasn't just
grace
it
for
wasn't
sure.
just like a sudden change.
No, definitely not.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So what you
Okay,
say is like big
let's talk
changes
about
take
somebody
time.
else. Don't talk about me. Talk about somebody else. No, put me on the spot. No, I appreciate that, and I really do understand what you're saying, and it's for me it wasn't easy. Still not easy. Like sometimes like so many people, whether it's clients or just, and it's all in my head. I know it's in my head. It's like me wanting to please other people or to bring value to their lives. Even though my mission statement, what my personal mission statement is, but it's almost like, okay, if that's not congruent, then I feel like I'm not doing them justice or myself. And it's taken me a while to realize, holy crap, like over the last couple of weeks, April and I were talking in the water. April, please chime in. Like today, like I finally found a balance. Like after years and years of trying to strike a balance of what how much I can give and how much I need to refill my own pitcher. And part of that is, getting in the water, but then even being disconnected from my culture and who I am as a Hawaiian, like the last couple of weeks being able to be to go back into the forest, to back even just the olelo, just my language, just being able to, like, as I'm talking to the kids, and because I'm teaching again Hawaiian studies, like po'alima po'ako, like just it starts flowing again, and it feels almost. I mean, to me, that's part of my self care is to because I enjoy that and enjoy seeing the kids, but it's also like I don't know what I'm saying. If you make sense, I just think it's a daily struggle to maintain that self care, but it seems to be getting easier to acknowledge when I need it, and then to actually accept it, and then to I don't feel like I have to give anybody any reason why I cancel an appointment. Like last week, I think it was I canceled like 3 or 4 appointments in one day. I just said I can't do it. You don't need to know why, kind of a deal. And nobody ever grilled me like, oh, how come you can't be there? You said you're going to be there. Like nobody ever does that. Most people are like, hope you're okay, have a good day, kind of a thing.
But
Is
that
that
is the worry. That's the worry
yeah,
in your head.
yeah?
Yeah.
Is that what most of it is? Is like a mindset thing?
I think from a cultural standpoint, we don't want to be selfish. From a societal standpoint, we don't have time,
Hmm.
right? American society is going fast. Think about what you just did, though. It's like, okay, do you cancel 3 appointments every day?
No,
When was the
absolutely
last
not.
time when was the last time you canceled 3 appointments?
I don't think I ever have, to be honest.
Okay. And that's an important piece of this to keep in mind. You don't do it every day. It's not selfish. If you did it every day, made yourself the priority, they're selfish.
Hmm.
This is, I need it. I'm not going to need it every day, but when I do need it, I'm paying attention, I'm seeing it, and I'm taking action toward it. This is what I need. This is what I want.
I feel like I could show up as my best self to help somebody else. Especially as a coach. Like if I don't do those things to take care of myself, I'm not my best self. And so, because I noticed that in the conversation with a client, if I'm getting irritated at what they're saying, I'm like, whoa, whoa, that means I'm taking things personal, which we all know is like that's a whole nother issue. But it's like what's going on with them should be what's going on with them. That's my priority. Have you ever had it for yourself where you've like taken like instead of self care, it was almost like you did self sabotage because we're talking about canceling appointments and things like that. Have you ever had personal experience in your own life or any of your patients or clients where they mistook self sabotage for self care?
To be quite honest, there's a situation going on right now. There's someone that I'm working with that loves somebody dearly. They've been together for several years, loves them. Watching them crash and burn. And they stepped away. They were like, okay, I think I can step away. But they went back. What they're focused on is I'm kind of taking care of my heart, question mark, because this partner burnt them, but they still love them. They know the signs. The signs is this is gonna end badly again. So from that perspective, like the impression I'm getting, and I can't speak for what they're thinking, but they think it looks like they think it's self-care. I'm gonna take care of my heart, but they're putting themselves in a position where it's gonna blow up, and that's sabotaging. You know what I mean?
Is there any, I mean, I don't even know if you know the answer, if there even is an answer. Is there any question we can ask ourselves to let us know, is this a sabotage or is this a self care? Like, how do we know the difference? If we're not
To
in a
be
relationship
honest,
ourselves,
to be
yeah.
honest, using that example, that's why she brought herself in. She knows she's having struggling to stop herself, but she knows. So there's a little voice. We all have that little voice. We all have that little survival voice. Like, if you do this, don't go swimming with the sharks. That's a bad thing, probably. If you got, cut on your leg. We all have that little voice. We got to pay attention. Again, paying attention. And for that person, they're looking for assistance because they know their choices are a little bit complicated right now.
We've been, trust me, I could keep talking to you, Chad, because to me, I learned a lot, not just for my own sake, but even helping some of my clients. But it's 8:45, and I know that I've been capitalizing the conversation. Is there anybody that has any questions? Christina, was anybody asking questions on the chat, or anybody thought of any questions now?
Okay, it looks like we've got Harvey. Go ahead and
Hey,
unmute.
hey, can you guys hear me?
We sure can. What's up,
Awesome.
Harvey? What's your question?
So that last little anecdote about your client actually struck a chord with me, and it made me wonder, how do we tell the difference between pursuing happiness and pursuing self care?
I'm gonna go from this perspective if I'm hearing you right. If it's matters of the heart, you know it. There's a reason why they have that saying, love is blind, right? Sometimes you might need to tap into your best friend, whether or confidant or someone that you trust. Now, you got to know and you got to believe this person will tell me what I need to hear no matter what. And you can completely disagree with them, but you have to hear the alternative. It doesn't mean that you have to listen, but they have to put it on your radar so you at least can start looking. Because it is hard. It is hard when your heart tells you to go one direction and there's warning signs. There's warning signs. Because the fact that you asking tells me that there's warning signs, or you wouldn't ask.
That is true.
Does that
How's
kind of
that?
answer your question, Harvey?
Yeah, thank you.
Great question. Thank you, Harvey, for that. One question that I want to ask before we get to the 5 questions that I'm going to ask every guest speaker, which is a little bit of fun. So, if someone listening right now feels completely stuck, whether it's in their career, relationships, or just within themselves, what's the first small step they can take today to start moving forward, Chad?
I go back to what do you want? Or what do you need? Do you need to get a better education? And this is a hard one for island folks to hear. Do you need to move? Do you need to change who you're around? Do you need to change your job?
Oh,
What do you need? When you know what you want, that'll tell you what you need. When you have your whys, that's a big one. There's a gentleman by the name of Simon Simic that did a talk on know your why.
yep.
If you know your why will tell you where you're going.
Is that a lot of times with some clients and tell me if you heard of the 5 whys building down? Is that kind of the same thing that we talk? So somebody answers you, why is this important? And why is that important? And why is that important? You go 5 levels deep with why. In that exercise is to kind of, why are we doing that exercise? Why do we do the 5 whys? Or why is why so important in what we're doing in our life?
We're going so fast every day. We have so many demands on us every day. How many times we lose track of where we're going or what our destinations are, as opposed to, oh, I got to do this for my family or I got to do this for my job or what have you. We're always going. We lose track of, oh, I wanted to get here. Again, I'm going to pick on Kuila, but he's a young man that had some definite goals, figured out his why. I want to do this. This is what calls me. Okay, why do you want to do it? It's going to give me opportunity. Why do you want to do, why is it so important to have opportunity? I haven't been in a place where I had that opportunity before. Okay, then chase away because this is what your goal is. Another thing I'm going to throw out to self-care, and this is always interesting to me. If I ask you who's your closest people, you can tell me, right? Okay. But when we get in a place where we're hurting, burnt out, just at our end of a rope, how many times we tell the people that we're closest to what's going on with us? Or do we tend to be like, I don't want to burden them, I shame to tell them, or have, half a dozen other reasons why we don't want to tell them?
There's my clients sometimes say "f you" Freitas, and right now I want to say "f you" Chad. No, like that. Wow.
We forget to use the people around us we already know who they are, but we forget to use them. And sometimes just talking through things is self-care. I mean, I'm not trying to, say that we don't need therapists or whatever, but sometimes if we can figure out who we trust and who we can be vulnerable to, that's self-care. Just being out there and talking to them and getting grounded again and feeling like I know where I'm going. I don't want to make self-care like this magical thing. It's some really basic stuff. And we forget that so often.
Brothers, you mentioned a word that sometimes scares people and used to scare me, that vulnerability.
Oh yeah.
That
Oh
that
yeah.
word right there, because it's like, how do you build trust with somebody? How do you build a relationship with somebody without being vulnerable? And if you put up that wall all the time, nobody can
Hmm.
get through to you. Nobody wants to be your friend because they don't know who you are. But at the same time, you don't want to spill your guts to somebody, kind of thing. In your own mind is kind of playing, saying, I don't want to be a burden to somebody. I don't want to, that whole, like, how are you doing today? And everybody goes, oh, fine.
Fine.
While your
Yep.
life is falling apart, or you're, using substance, whatever. Like, there's just so many things that's going on. Being
But the funny thing
vulnerable.
is you already know who the right people are, or they wouldn't be the right people in your life. So
What is the
Jan, you
next
had a
thing?
you had a question.
So you're talking about to confide in somebody that you're close with or somebody that you trust or whatnot.
Yeah.
And with my experience, when I'm in a bad way or whatnot, I don't necessarily want to talk to them, not because I don't want to burden them or anything, but
Right.
I know they're going to say all this good stuff to me.
Right. And tell you how
Like,
good you are.
yes, and it kind of just goes. It's hard for me to accept that and believe it. Because they're going to say that. It's like, how kids don't listen to their parents. Like, I could tell you you're a genius or you're very smart. You're like, yeah, you're just my mom. It's kind of that kind of thing.
But you're not kids anymore. You've grown up. You know who, and that's the care you need, right? You need somebody who sees you. Okay, because I'm picking on him, I'm gonna ask Coila to unmute because this is great. I got to meet this young man. Again, he's starting college. I didn't meet him in the counseling center. I just met him because he's Hawaiian. I make it a point to meet all the Hawaiian students. Interesting thing, he chose me. He decided to be vulnerable. So I'm gonna ask you, how would you say, how do you decide to be vulnerable?
See, that's a pretty tough question to answer. I think it's really just about taking the chance. I think it's at this point it was I didn't really know too much about Chad, but he was always willing to, put himself out there and always like offer that helping hand. That's kind of where I decided like, okay, like he's been always like like offering like that helping hand and like if you need anything, let me know. So I was like, okay. And so that's kind of like how I decided to be vulnerable and open up with him with Chad. Just because he offered that help and I wasn't exactly sure how that was gonna go, but I decided to take that chance.
But you figured out what you needed, right?
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons why you took the chance. You're like, I need something, right? And don't get me wrong. I mean, he felt me out. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna be vulnerable right away.
Yeah.
I had to earn that.
How do you earn
But
that real fast? Because we're almost up on time there, Chet. But how do you earn somebody's trust for that they be vulnerable with you?
bro, you don't earn it real fast. You know that. You
I
be
would say it's
consistent.
time.
You be there, and you just be genuine. People gonna know you when you fake. Willie, you were saying something?
No, exactly what you said. It was the time we put into the relationship, showing up and being genuine.
Hmm.
And that's one of the main reasons why like I was so drawn to like the relation like creating that relationship with you because of your authenticity.
I'm gonna put it out to everybody on this on the podcast or whatever on the Zoom right now. This is a young man at 18, 19. And I'm gonna throw out this brother from Moinai.
Oh, West Side. Oh.
So he's learned this. He's learned this strategy. He's learned this tool at 18. think about where it's going to take him for the rest of his life. Okay, if I'm 50, 54, 55, and I'm listening to what he's saying, I'm like, shoot, if he can do it, I can do it. Okay, that's how you're gonna make your changes. That's how you're gonna make sure you're taking care of yourself. That's how you're gonna be vulnerable to somebody, you know. And I talk him up because I know him, but I also that says a lot. You got to make that decision. Okay, I'm gonna be vulnerable. I'm gonna take the chance, and I'm gonna make some changes.
I'm gonna stop right there for that, Chad. Thank you, Koila. And I know that gentleman is where, just FYI, everybody, he did you get the license yet, or you're still studying for it? Still studying for it, right?
I'm actually so studying for it, waiting for it. I'm currently on the check ride wait list to get my, or at least to test for my license.
He's gonna
Pilot
be a
license.
pilot license. Pilot license. And knowing this guy, I'll pick on you too, my gentleman man. How unhappy he was in Costco, and now to be like just literally flying high, literally flying high. Like, that's just so awesome, and that's all you, brother. You did that all yourself. Like, you should be proud of yourself for sure. Chad, we've got the last couple of final questions, and then we're gonna get, gentlemen. I know it's 9 o'clock, people, so I appreciate if we could stay with us for maybe another 1 or 2 minutes. I've got 5 questions that I'm gonna shoot at Chad, and he's got 5 seconds or less to answer each one. So number one, if you could sit with your 20-year-old self for 5 minutes, what would you say, Chad?
You can make it.
What is a moment in your life when you felt truly seen, truly understood, and who was that person for you?
To be honest, my father-in-law
Oh,
loved me unconditionally.
wow. Number 3, what lesson has life taught you the hard way, but you're still grateful for
Wow, what haven't it taught me the hard way? I can be hot-headed, so sometimes there's only one way to learn.
it? No, you're not. If you could gift every young person in Hawaii one mindset shift, what would that be?
Don't let anything hold you back. Don't settle.
Wow.
There's so much more out there.
And then the last question is, when your time here on Earth is done, what's the impact you hope you've made for us?
First and foremost, I hope my family has been happy with me, because that's where it starts for me.
I appreciate those answers, honest answers. I appreciate everyone's time this evening. I am grateful for everybody for being here and for listening and for chat. I want to thank my team. There's Harvey, there's Christina, there's April, Jer and Auntie Rhino over there. Everybody that's a part of this and for showing up tonight. Hopefully it was of value, that we added value to you guys. Chad is amazing. This month, again, February, self-care, self-love. Next week, Thursday, 8 o'clock, we're going to have another Real Talk Thursday, and we're going to have Dr. Joanna Smith, who is a business owner, nurse practitioner, aesthetics genius. And so she's going to talk about what self-care looks like to her as a business owner, what she does, and then what that looks like for her clients. And then we're going to be slowly adding Wellness Wednesday, which April's going to be in charge of Wellness Wednesdays, and Momentum Mondays, which will be all about accountability and reaching goals and things like that. And again, this tomorrow evening, if you're able to make it, please come down to Magic Island, 6 p.m. We're going to have fireworks, food, fun, and everybody's going to get a little gift. And it's just our way of saying, thank you for being a part of our lives and chosen family and Aloha family. So I thank everyone for their extra few minutes that's here. Much love to everybody. Chad, go to sleep. It's past your bedtime already. I can see the eyes already closed, right? Same thing with you, Kawila. Get out, get to a nice rest. But aloha, everybody. Have a great evening. Mahalo.
Thank you again for having me, John. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you, brother.